Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Unspoken Issues.
Avengers UltraForce number 1. On sale date August 24th, 1995. Written by Glenn Herdling. Penciled by Angel Medina and M.C. Wyman. Inked by Keith Aiken, Steve Alexandrov, Hector Colazzo, and Donald Hudson. Lettered by Janice Chang, and colored by Chris DeFilippo. The story opens with the cosmic schemer known as the Grandmaster, one of the elders of the universe, who has spent his existence in pursuit of the ultimate game. Now, however, he turns his attention to recovering the lost mind gem. He recalls the chaotic battle between the cosmic vampire Rune and the Silver Surfer, where the Infinity Gems were hurled through a vortex, scattered across creation and seemingly lost forever. Unwilling to accept defeat, he channels his power, vowing he has come too far to be thwarted. His solution is to pierce into a new universe itself, intent on rescuing his most prized possession from its uncertain fate. In this new reality, his gaze falls upon a familiar figure, Circe of the Eternals, seated upon an asteroid near a solar system strangely similar to Earth's. The Grandmaster wonders about her presence and her purpose. Could she, too, be searching for the limitless might of the Infinity Gems, or is she playing some deeper game? As he watches, Circe suddenly senses his presence, demanding he reveal himself. To his surprise, she addresses him directly, proposing a contest. She calls it a game of truth or dare, offering him knowledge if he will in turn perform a task for her. Far from the cosmic stage, the scene shifts to a quiet Amish farming community in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The people there present a newly married couple with a grand barn, the greatest they've ever seen. But their joy is interrupted when a mysterious, darkly dressed man appears, presenting himself with eerie confidence. The villagers murmur in fear, likening him to Lucifer himself as he unveils his extravagant glowing gift. The Amish recoil at the unnatural scale of his offering. He brushes off the protest with a mocking laugh, presenting a shrunken version of their barn. We learn the dark-dressed man was Loki, who has returned to lounging on his throne in a fiery citadel floating in space, reveling in his own schemes. He declares himself the god of mischief and speaks of his possession of the Infinity Gems, considering how he might use them to eliminate the Avengers once and for all. Yet his musings are interrupted when the Grandmaster appears, offering Loki a challenge. The Elder proposes a wager. If he wins, he will claim the gem Loki currently holds. If Loki triumphs, he will gain knowledge of something even greater, the location of a 7th Infinity Gem. Loki immediately distrusts the offer, accusing the Grandmaster of bluffing, and even threatens to use the mind gem to rip the truth from his skull. But the Grandmaster counters with calm confidence, explaining that his long exposure to the gems has made him immune to their effects. He insists that the only way Loki can truly obtain what he desires is to honor the rules of the game. Loki resists, boasting that deceit always wins, but the Grandmaster continues to press him, warning that Loki will never feel true satisfaction until he has acquired all of them. Enraged, Loki tries to dismiss him, but the Elder refuses to be denied. Pushed to his limit, Loki is forced to concede. With visible frustration, he admits defeat and demands to know the Grandmaster's game. The Elder stands tall, radiant with energy, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The stage is now set. The contest between these two manipulators is about to begin. The Grandmaster reveals the contest, a game he calls Worlds and Warriors, a cosmic variation of a card game from Earth. Each card will represent not only worlds but also real champions, with actual events determining the outcome. Loki's warriors will be the heroes of this new universe, UltraForce, while the Grandmaster's champions will be the Avengers. To raise the stakes even further, a wild card piece is introduced, the Black Knight, held captive as the game's pawn. The two manipulators seal their bargain with a handshake, each declaring their role. The Grandmaster plays to win, and Loki, the master of deceit, plays not to lose. The Avengers are suddenly transported into the Grandmaster's arena, immobilized in a stasis field. They demand answers, questioning why they've been forced into yet another of the Elder's cosmic schemes. The Grandmaster reveals their opponent, Loki, now wielding the Infinity Gems. The sight of the imprisoned Black Knight shocks the Avengers, who realize the high stakes involved. The rules are clear: defeat Loki's team or face the destruction of the universe as they know it. Loki has chosen UltraForce as his champions, making the conflict Avengers versus Ultras, with reality itself hanging in the balance. Meanwhile, Loki briefs UltraForce within his citadel, framing the situation to his advantage. He warns them of an extra-dimensional army threatening their universe and positions the Avengers as the invaders. Though skeptical, UltraForce listens, with some members expressing distrust. After all, Loki once tricked them into surrendering a gem. Their doubts deepen when they see the Black Knight displayed as Loki's prisoner, a grim testament to his manipulations. Loki presses his case, insisting they must defend their universe from the Avengers, while the Grandmaster watches with satisfaction as his game begins to take shape. The game begins as the cards are drawn. Loki enacts his plan. In Washington, D.C., Loki disguises himself as Captain America, and he begins to fight law enforcement, begging for a greater challenge. Loki then rounds a corner just as the real Captain America materializes behind him. Spotting approaching figures, he collides head-on with Hardcase of UltraForce. The two powerhouses waste no time trading blows in a furious clash. Captain America is able to use his shield, smashing it into Hardcase with a resounding impact, but the Ultra isn't easily rattled. Hardcase responds with his own show of strength, sending Cap reeling with the force of his counterattack. Cap retaliates with precision, hurling the shield with expert aim, boasting of its effectiveness against everything from tanks to alien armadas. The strike lands cleanly, staggering Hardcase. Yet even as Cap regains control, he insists he isn't there to fight for fighting's sake. Instead, he calls out the manipulation of the Grandmaster's game, making it clear that this battle is not one of his choosing. Hardcase bristles with suspicion, accusing Captain America of being one of the invading Avengers Loki warned them about. Cap calmly explains his past as an invader, with a capital I, and his current mission. He's searching for his missing comrade, the Black Knight. But before they can resolve anything, confusion sets in. Surroundings shift strangely, showing both the Statue of Liberty and Big Ben close together, and even the attacking police seem unnatural. Hardcase grows more agitated, convinced that Loki is manipulating everything and that Cap must be working with him. Their clash intensifies with Hardcase's raw strength and the defensive might of his shield. Blow after blow lands, each man testing the other's limits. Hardcase boasts of his stamina, while Cap acknowledges the punishment his shield can absorb, all the while looking for a way to break through the chaos. Realizing the fight serves no true purpose, Cap works to put distance between them, refusing to give in to endless brawling. Finally, Captain America lowers his guard, declaring he won't fight any longer. He even dares Hardcase to strike him down, pointing out that such a move would only prove they are being used. He lays the truth bare. Loki is the real enemy, and they should be allies, not pawns. Hardcase, still wary but moved by Cap's words, reluctantly agrees. He accepts the truce, warning Cap that he'll be keeping a close watch on him. A shaky partnership is formed, forged not by trust, but by the recognition of a greater threat. On a distant asteroid, Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, and Crystal suddenly materialize inside what looks like a bizarre cosmic mud wrestling ring. Natasha reacts with disgust, recognizing Loki's manipulative hand behind the strange setting. Crystal finds herself trapped within a glowing mystical snare that neutralizes her elemental powers, leaving her vulnerable. To their shock, another pair of heroes appear, Siren and Topaz, who stand ready as their opponents. The scene transforms into a twisted gladiatorial spectacle, with a roaring alien crowd cheering and jeering as if attending a cosmic prize fight. Announcers introduce the combatants, Siren and Topaz against Crystal and the Black Widow. With no time for strategy, Natasha is immediately attacked, knocked hard by Siren's strike. Refusing to be overwhelmed, Natasha counters fiercely, determined not to waste time pleading with her opponent. The audience reacts with loud approval or disapproval, feeding into the atmosphere of chaos as the women are forced into brutal combat. As the struggle rages, Topaz asserts her dominance. She moves in after Siren is dispatched, taunting Natasha and Crystal. With Crystal still ensnared, Natasha tries to hold her ground, but Topaz, brimming with confidence, launches a devastating assault. She mocks Natasha as a mere amateur compared to her, the self-proclaimed warrior queen of her people. With her overwhelming power and skill, Topaz sends Natasha crashing back, leaving the widow bloodied and reeling under the force of her opponent's attack. Natasha is knocked hard into the mud but quickly realizes the pattern behind the contest. She deduces that the Grandmaster has modeled this round after tag team wrestling, meaning her widow's bite could count as a tag. She lunges toward Crystal, and the contact dissolves the energy bars trapping her partner, freeing Crystal to join the fray. Topaz boasts that Natasha is finished, and Crystal will be the next to fall. Crystal wastes no time, unleashing her powers once she's free. She cleverly provokes Topaz into closing the distance, disarming her of her glowing staff with precision strikes. Though Topaz insists she needs no weapon to defeat her foes, Crystal uses her control over the elements to shift the balance. With a surge of force, she brings the mud pit itself under her command, burying Topaz beneath waves of earth and muck. Overwhelmed, Siren cries out in defeat. With no other option, she and her allies surrender. The referee raises Crystal and Natasha's hands, declaring the Avengers the victors of this brutal contest. Though coated in mud and exhausted, the two women stand triumphant. On the frozen world of Hathor, in the outer reaches of the God Wheel, Jimmy Ruiz finds himself shivering, stranded without his armor. Loki appears mocking his situation before revealing the rules of this round. It's not just combat, but a scavenger hunt. Both Jimmy and his opponent must locate their respective armors before the elements consume them, with the winner determined by survival as much as strength. Loki vanishes, leaving Jimmy to face his mysterious challenger. From the icy wastes, Tony Stark, Iron Man, emerges, questioning the Grandmaster's sense in forcing two armored champions to fight without their suits. The two immediately clash, but Jimmy struggles without the prototype armor to stabilize his powers. Though inexperienced, he fights desperately against the seasoned Avenger. As the clash continues, Tony pieces it together. The Grandmaster wouldn't pit two armored champions against each other without their gear unless the suits were hidden nearby. His deduction proves correct. Searching the ice, Tony unearths a buried suit of armor. Prototypes, not his own. Acting fast, Tony claims the advantage, activating the suit to seize the upper hand. With Prototype's own power turned against him, Jimmy is hurled aside, the contest firmly swinging in Stark's favor. Tony Stark puts Prototype's armor to use, noting its design is crude compared to his own Iron Man tech, but still effective. Jimmy, furious at losing his suit, refuses to yield and unleashes blasts of energy with his unstable powers. Tony takes the hits but keeps pressing forward, adjusting the armor systems as best as he can. Jimmy tries to take flight, but without the Prototype suit, he can't maintain control. Stark takes to the skies in the ill-fitting armor, admitting the cybernetic relays are awkward and the suit is a tight squeeze. Before he can fully orient himself, he's caught off guard. Jimmy has managed to locate and climb into Stark's Iron Man armor. Now the tables turn, and Iron Man's real tech is aimed at Stark, who is still fighting in Prototype's stolen gear. Jimmy, struggling to manage the complex systems, fires a massive blast. The output proves too much. Though the attack devastates the field, it overloads Iron Man's suit completely. Jimmy celebrates briefly, marveling at the destructive power, but the victory is short-lived. The Iron Man armor seizes up, every system shutting down, leaving him immobile and trapped inside. With no working heat source or life support, Jimmy realizes he's in grave danger. The cold of Hathor will finish what the battle began. Both fighters are left in peril, each handicapped by armor that is not truly their own. On a lush world in the God Wheel, Contrary appears first, unimpressed with the challenge before her. She's soon met by Eros, Starfox, who greets her with charm, attempting to sway her through his ability to manipulate pleasure and emotion. Contrary stumbles under his influence, nearly giving in, but she quickly lashes back, accusing him of trying to control her mind. With a counterattack of her own, she forces Eros to his knees, overwhelmed by her psychic pulses. Eros concedes that he underestimated her, but he's not out of tricks. He shifts tactics, leaning into his own powers of persuasion. The two lock into a psychic duel, waves of influence and emotional manipulation clashing between them. What begins as a battle of wills transforms into a different kind of contest, one of intimacy and desire. Eros suggests that two are strongest when they become one, and with that, the conflict turns into an embrace. The two seal their confrontation with a kiss, merging their powers and intentions in an unlikely union. Elsewhere, on a grim necropolis world filled with gravestones, Vision faces off against the Ultra Goul. The ghastly figure taunts Vision for being artificial life, claiming superiority as something that cannot die. He swings, but his punch shatters against Vision's chest, who reveals his control over his molecular density. Harder than diamond or lighter than air. Vision demonstrates his intangibility, phasing through Goul's attacks with ease, while Goul reels in shock at his own inability to harm his opponent. Their eerie battleground emphasizes the contrast, a synthetic being of pure logic against an undead creature clinging to mockery and death. Goul grows frustrated, questioning why he was pitted against Vision in such a place. But a cloaked figure reminds him that this is his own world, shaped by his powers over the dead. Though reluctant, Goul is urged to try again, for the fate of the universe depends on it. He hesitates, recalling past failures, but when pressed, he unleashes his necromancy. Graves burst open as the dead rise, and soon Vision finds himself swarmed by a horde of zombies at Goul's command. At first, Goul gloats that he doesn't even need to fight directly, letting his army do the work. Vision, however, withstands the assault, remarking that, though the undead are many, he does not tire as an android. Overwhelmed by Vision's resistance, Goul pushes harder, calling forth more soldiers. This time, familiar figures. To his horror, his own deceased teammates appear among the risen dead. Goul reels in panic, clearly unprepared to confront the ghosts of his past. Vision soon realizes these revenant are not mere corpses, but retain their old powers. They hammer him with blows, testing even his density-altering abilities. He steels himself, reasoning that since they are no longer truly alive, he need not hold back. Before he can act, another figure crashes into the fight. Wonder Man, or at least a twisted version of him. Simon accuses Vision of stealing his life, pointing out that Vision's mind was patterned after his own brainwaves, while he himself was left to die. The revelation leaves Vision stunned, facing not just enemies, but echoes of his deepest personal history. Wonder Man hammers Vision, declaring he's come to reclaim the life that was stolen from him. Vision, stunned by the personal connection, hesitates to strike back, realizing Simon's anger runs deeper than the fight itself. Goul, meanwhile, reflects grimly that seeing his fallen comrades rise again almost makes his torment worthwhile, until one of those friends actually appears. To his horror, it's Pix, one of his previous teammates risen from the grave and eager for a twisted reunion. Her words cut deep and Goul breaks down, devastated by her return. Elsewhere, another contest unfolds as Prime and Thor clash within the halls of Vanaheim. Loki's voice taunts them, mocking Thor as his accursed half-brother while welcoming Prime into the god's realm. But before the trickster's words can escalate further, Prime grows impatient and throws a punch at Thor himself, declaring he'll shut the Asgardian up. Thor, unshaken, returns the blow, and the two titans crash into each other with devastating force. Thor quickly realizes that Loki's manipulations are at work, but that doesn't prevent Prime from treating him like a sparring partner. Their punches shatter the very walls around them, the young Ultra's raw power colliding with Thor's godly might. Prime insists heroes don't fight other heroes, but his fists keep flying regardless. Thor, ever the warrior, matches him blow for blow as their battle shakes the foundations of their strange battleground. Prime and Thor's clash grows fiercer with every exchange. Prime slams Thor into a stone wall, mocking him, but Thor answers with a thunderous strike of Mjolnir that sends Prime crashing through the rubble. Declaring an end to foolish games, Thor insists that what's at stake is greater than their personal contest. Realms hang in the balance. Still, Prime dismisses the god's words, unwilling to believe they are simply pawns in some cosmic game, and leaps back into the fray. The young Ultra unleashes a devastating punch, bellowing, "It's Prime time," as Thor is knocked across the chamber. Loki's mocking laughter echoes throughout the halls, clearly delighting in the spectacle. Thor pulls himself back to his feet, chastising Prime for letting hatred and pride cloud his judgment, but Prime simply fires back with more bravado. Their fight resumes with renewed fury, both warriors refusing to give ground. Thor, wearied by Prime's antics, decides it's time to remind his opponent of his true power. Raising Mjolnir, he summons a colossal storm, lightning splitting the very skies of this strange realm. With a mighty cry, he channels the tempest's force through his hammer and hurls it at Prime. The storm's energy crashes down with overwhelming might, leaving Prime writhing in agony under the Asgardian god's unleashed wrath. The halls of Vanaheim quake as the god of thunder demonstrates that even an Ultra must bow before the storm. Thor delivers what he believes is a final blow to subdue Prime, only to discover something horrifying. His hands sink through Prime's flesh into a strange gelatinous mass. Thor finds not his opponent, but the frail, unconscious Kevin Green within the Prime form. Holding the boy's limp body, Thor realizes the truth. Prime is no godlike warrior, but a mere youth encased in unstable energy. Rage surges through Thor as he recognizes the cruel trick. With the child cold and unresponsive in his arms, he bellows Loki's name in fury. The scene shifts to the manipulators behind this deadly game. Loki proclaims victory, smugly declaring that for once he didn't even need to cheat. The Grandmaster, however, reminds him that the contest was never about simple wins and losses, but about the precise terms of their wager. He points to each battle, Captain America and Hardcase calling a truce rather than claiming triumph. Black Widow and the UltraForce women both laid low in their bizarre arena. And Iron Man and Prototype locked in a struggle that ended in exhaustion and ruined both armors. Even Vision's fight is counted as a hollow conclusion, as though he fought valiantly. Goul's anguish at confronting his undead friends overshadowed any sense of victory. Starfox and Contrary, meanwhile, ended not in defeat, but in a passionate entanglement. Finally, Loki sees that while Thor and Prime's battle may be given to the Avengers, it came at great cost, with Thor stricken by what he discovered within Prime. In the end, both trickster gods twist the results, each claiming they did not truly lose, while the other did not truly win. With that, Loki demands his prize, his ambition sharpened by the chaos. The Grandmaster, true to his word, concedes the match and presents Loki with his reward. Circe. She steps forward confidently, thanking the Elder for distracting Loki long enough for her to confront him directly. Loki is startled. This was not the prize he expected. Circe reveals herself as the seventh gem, the living key to uniting the Infinity Gems' power. Loki, uncharacteristically shaken, realizes too late that he cannot use the gems against the one who embodies them. Loki tries to rally the heroes. One by one, the Avengers and UltraForce gather again, repaired and resolute. Their unity stands in stark contrast to Loki's scheming. Even the once battered Prototype finds his armor restored, proudly announcing himself ready to fight again. At that moment, the Black Knight rushes forward, calling out for Circe, his long search finally at an end. But before the reunion can unfold, Circe lashes out in fury. Her attack flings the Black Knight aside and Circe seizes her chance. She tackles Loki head-on, declaring it is time for their relationship, both adversarial and inevitable, to reach its conclusion. Loki snarls that she's insane, but Circe dismisses him with a clarity he cannot even comprehend. For the first time, she says, everything makes sense. She pins him down and silences him with a kiss, an act charged with both power and finality, turning the trickster god's schemes into his undoing. A cataclysmic blast rips through the battlefield, sending heroes and villains sprawling. As the dust settles, Dane rushes to Cersei, asking if the nightmare is finally over. She confirms that the seventh gem no longer controls her, its grip is broken. But before relief can spread, the heroes realize something greater has happened. Loki no longer possesses the gems. The gems rise into the air, glowing with renewed brilliance. The narration explains their true origin. Before the six were ever known, there had always been seven. The seventh was long lost, preventing the gems from ever reuniting as a single, complete entity. Now, through Cersei's unwitting role, that reunion is achieved. Before the astonished heroes, the gems fuse together into a single radiant figure. Nemesis, the primordial being who existed before all creation. Towering and resplendent, Nemesis declares that alone the gems were mere tools, but together they are a force of creation itself. What she has witnessed of the two separate universes convinces her that they must be undone. Thor rallies both teams, a cry of Avengers and UltraForce assemble as the heroes charge to stop her, but their efforts are in vain. In an instant, Nemesis unleashes her power, not with destructive force, but with pure creative energy. Reality itself is torn back to its origins as both universes are unmade in a blinding wave of rebirth.
Next up, we're going to get into Avengers UltraForce number 1. Came out August 24th, 1995. All right. And then we'll go ahead real quick. Just our cover, our front and back make one big piece. And it looks pretty freaking cool.
I like how the front cover portion shows what's going on in this issue. You got Cap and Hardcase fighting, which is kind of the battle issue where they have to fight each other.
Yep.
On the back portion, you see kind of into the future what the next issue holds with the Nordic Thor and Firearm in there with his Avengers jacket on.
It almost makes me feel like the plan here was like they're going to do this just like the 90s intercompany crossovers did. One company would publish one issue and then the other company would publish the other issue.
Yeah, this is the Marvel, the Marvel portion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go ahead. I'll summarize what we have going on here. For now, we're going to pick up in the 616 and the Grandmaster's mad. He's mad because he doesn't have the Infinity Gems. Of course, he's obsessed with games. That's what the Grandmaster does. He loves to play games.
You can always count on the Grandmaster to give you an excuse for the heroes to fight each other.
That's right. That's right. What follows is a series of bizarre, brutal contests across the God Wheel. I mean, would you say that that's where this is happening? I mean, or they're zapping them to different parts of reality for sure.
It's hard to say if they all take place in the same realm. Hardcase and Cap seem to be happening on Earth, but Siren and Black Widow, the mud wrestling clearly happens on some kind of alien world.
Very strange. Meanwhile, Contrary and Starfox is fighting stuff. I have so many favorite parts of this book.
Yeah.
This one sticks out way better than Prelude. Starfox and Contrary, just like, hey, let's just make it.
Yeah, their conflict takes place in the Bone Zone.
I'm going to give you first shot. What are your thoughts on the art?
Angel Medina, whatever. MC Wyman. The art's not bad. The problem is we've got this awesome George Perez cover, and we know Perez is doing the next issue, and this just is so far below that standard that it's hard to get excited. But to be fair, when I was, in my late teens, after I did get back into comics, I remember tracking this down or maybe just coming upon it in a dollar bin. This is the first part of Avengers UltraForce. I didn't get UltraForce Avengers until, probably 10 or 12 years ago. Well, it's been more than 10, probably 12, 13 years ago when I, started collecting again. I loved it at the time. It was awesome to see the Ultraverse or the UltraForce characters and the Avengers going at it, even though I didn't love the art. But just the novelty of seeing these characters that at that time were not even being published anymore.
Right.
Was cool. Now the art just isn't that strong. It's okay. It's decent, but it's not my favorite.
When I was hanging out with Dean and Darian, we talked to Soviet super soldiers. I feel like his art was in that, or Angel's art was in that. The reason I remember is how Todd McFarlane-esque it was. That's kind of what I get the feeling here a little bit. Sometimes it looks a little like, I mean, it's definitely not as polished or as,
right,
but it gave me that feeling, especially in the faces. Yeah, I've got to talk, just quick shout out to Loki, just trying to keep himself busy by shrinking an Amish family's farm.
What do we torture the Amish for? It's 1 page of random nonsense that has nothing to do with anything else.
He's like, here's your farm, shrinks it. I don't know what's going on there. At first I was like, what is going on here? And we realized it's Loki being a trickster. Oh my goodness. I do love how the Grandmaster tricks Loki into playing the game. Like, even though Loki has all these gems.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, there's a 7th one out there. And he sits there and thinks about it. He's finally.
Yeah, I do like the facial expressions there. If he's pondering and being annoyed.
He's like, okay, dang it. What's your game? I don't know what card game they're talking about, because the only card game I'm playing in 1995 is Magic the Gathering. And he's like, oh, yes, it's just like real, what does he say here? It's a simplified version of an ingenious card game that is consuming the planet Earth. Maybe at that.
I feel like it had to be Magic, but I don't know.
The other thing I was thinking was Overpower. Because
I mean, yeah, but overstatement. That's what they're talking about.
It wouldn't surprise me if Marvel was like, let's toot our own horn, because it's taking over the world, by golly. So we have this card game that they're going to, which, by the way, no idea what these cards have to do with anything, because all of a sudden, after he pulls a card, like, all right, here's the players on a chessboard. Loki gets UltraForce, and the Grandmaster uses the 616's Avengers. We have Cap and Hardcase, which took me a second to see. Loki is the one punching cops out, dressed as Captain America. Then he turns the corner and leaves, and immediately regular Cap ports in. Hardcase is mad. Captain America tries to stop this fight twice. The aggressors, I think, in just about every single one of these is always the UltraForce people. They're always the ones that are either listening to reason or are like going half-cocked and like, okay, whatever, we're here to fight, let's fight.
Hey, the Avengers, they're the savvy vets. They've been through all this before.
True. That's
It's
true.
just for the UltraForce.
Right. And here we get a little bit of a clue about, I think, what's possibly going to be explained in next issue about how, like, he sees Big Ben and the Statue of Liberty right beside each other. We start to learn later on that there is something going on with reality, or this specific reality, that's being created and kind of condensed a little bit.
I like the Hardcase Cap fight. It's pretty solid. It does seem like Wyman and Medina are almost like they're both doing the same fight. Like they're swapping pages. No rhyme or reason to who's doing what as far as the artist. It seems like these first like 3 or 4 pages are Wyman, and then the final page looks like Medina. And talk about faces. Check out the long face on Cap at the bottom of this page where him and Hardcase finally resolve things.
That's kind of disturbing.
Bad. But yeah, that's all I got on them. I like that Hardcase fight, though.
Yeah, it's decent. They finally, Cap's like, listen, dude, we've been played by this guy before. All right, but I'm watching you.
It's similar to Batman and Captain America's fight in Jail of the Avengers. Did Music swipe from UltraForce?
Look out. Don't be putting that out there. We'll get phone calls.
Herb Music has never read this.
Next up is the tag team match, which is hilarious because they actually figure out in the middle of it and make it a point to be in the dialogue like, oh yeah, this is modeled after tag team wrestling. And not only is it that, but It's a mud wrestling match, which is just perfect for these ladies. But yeah, I think we start off, we got Siren versus Black Widow, and then they realize Crystal's in the middle of this as well. Of course, Topaz, they're both caged in this energy cage. We get an introduction. Man, that is no rhyme or reason as to who's doing the art. Wow. I didn't notice that when I was reading this, which is funny. It's very obvious now.
Part of it may have to do with having a bunch of different inkers too. Wyman's art looks a little different because of the inker on different pages, so it looks like Medina or whatever. I think at best we can say the art is uneven.
Yeah, I'll agree. So Siren versus Black Widow. Siren gets her butt handed to her. Topaz shows up. She looks like she's about to wreck some stuff up. And then, and she does knock Black Widow out. And then Crystal starts taking control of the environment. And that's what essentially wins them the match. They're declared the winners by the alien guy here. So
you got a press. He's the referee. He's got the striped shirt.
Yeah. He says they're the winners. Next up is probably my favorite fight.
Yeah, this one's really interesting. That's kind of clever. But go ahead.
Oh, they essentially strand Tony Stark and Jimmy Ruiz in the outer reaches of the God Wheel. It's a planet that's just kind of like made of ice and snow, and they're both stripped naked, practically. They're in their underwear. The first one to find their armor has a better advantage. They both start fighting each other first and then decide, okay, I need to go after my armor. And I think it's Tony that goes after it, realizes what he needs to do, finds some armor, but it's Prototype's armor, dons it, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Tony's kind of getting screwed because Jimmy has powers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does.
But Tony is just, a regular guy. Genius, billionaire, philanthropist, all that stuff. But yeah, Jimmy, he's an ultra even without the suit. So he's got a big advantage early on. But
right.
Tony gets the jump on him once he has his armor.
They're fighting it out. Jimmy ends up finding Iron Man's armor. They're each wearing each other's armor. Jimmy has no idea what to do. Some things seem familiar in the Iron Man armor, but he's like, whatever.
Jimmy, the Prototype character, was kind of just given the armor by this corporation. He knows how to use it, but he's not tech savvy in the way that Tony is a genius. Tony probably figure out how to use that Prototype armor pretty easily, but Jimmy's just like, fire everything.
I mean, it tears up the Prototype armor pretty bad. And meanwhile, Tony's yelling and screaming like, what are you doing, you idiot? Don't do that. It's almost like Jimmy wins, except the suit is completely defeated and he falls down and he can't move. He can't do anything now. Yeah. So that's kind of where at the end they say, oh, well, neither one of them won. And then we get this interaction between Starfox and Contrary, which again, just hilarious. While their teammates are all fighting each other, they decide to start making out. A splash page. Then Vision and Goul. Again, we're dealing with things where their deceased teammates are coming back to haunt them.
Kind of by the fact that they sort of just did this in the previous.
We get an interaction with the Spectre who comes in and starts helping Goul, which of course ends up being Loki. I'm pretty sure this is Loki. So he shows up and he's explaining to Goul, why don't you go ahead and raise the dead? There's plenty here. He starts bringing back Wonder Man, his own team, the Exiles. He was part of the Exiles, right?
Yeah.
Is this where he runs into Pix? Yeah. The last issue, this does feel very similar to what we just saw because he's talking about Tinsel in the previous one. Now we got Pix, who was a member of UltraForce, if I remember correctly, and ended up dying. He kind of gets scared to death. I don't remember how they call this. I don't think anybody wins there either.
It looks like they give it to Goul as the winner, but what brought victory for the tragic duel?
Yeah. And then we have Prime versus Thor. Oh, boy. What are you thinking?
Prime versus Thor needed Norm Brayfogle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But not bad. The art is not bad. Pretty solid slobber knocker between the most powerful Ultra and one of the most powerful Marvel characters.
He finds, oh my goodness, I about called him Billy, and that's not right because...
Kevin Green.
Thank you very much. My goodness. What other story could I possibly be pulling Billy from? Well, I mean, hey, we got the classic "I Say Thee Nay," which
Yeah.
is, I know that's one of Evan's favorite things as well. But we also have the classic "It's Prime Time."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Thor ends up getting him off balance with a big strike of lightning, and I think that's what kills him, or at least deprimifies Kevin Green.
Sure. Yeah, and he's kind of melt.
Yeah. And I don't know if Thor thinks it's a trick or what, but, because he's screaming Loki at the end of this, or maybe he's just mad because Loki put him in this conflict against a kid. Okay, so as we reach the end of this is where Cersei shows up because the Grandmaster's like, here you go, you won, I guess we'll let you have this. And she's the seventh gem, everything reunites, and we have Nemesis. We'll end it on this before we pick a panel. What are your thoughts on what we get with Nemesis and how it all came to be?
I'm still not clear. Is that Cersei?
No, I don't think it is. I think she gets separated from the ego gem, the seventh gem.
Okay.
And yeah, then as the gems come together, they become Nemesis.
Okay. I think she's talking about Cersei here. I do like the costume. It's pretty cool. She's got the crown with all the gems and everything. It seems like it's too easy. Like, the Infinity Gauntlet is come and gone at this point. There have been sequels to that. And it seems like the gems are a little old hat already in the mid-90s. But they're using it to help give a little boost to the UltraForce characters in this storyline. So it works fine. But I don't have a whole lot else to say about Nemesis, really. She's sort of a MacGuffin.
Oh, yeah.
Just is there to get the story rolling and create this new universe that they're going to explore. I do like the way her hair kind of is space,
Oh, yeah. I didn't even notice
yeah.
that. Nice.
That's cool.
That is pretty neat. Okay, let's pick a panel here real quick. You got to pick first last time, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take, I think it's up here. Yep, right there it is. I'm taking, what the heck, all fire as Jimmy Reeves unloads the Iron Man suit, and it's just a panel of him being flown, like almost going backwards with just about every blaster firing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm going to go with the very next panel, which is mine is page 27, the first panel where Tony in the prototype armor is getting ripped to shreds by those blasts.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
All right.
Something, speaking of the covers we mentioned earlier, something I'd forgotten is that these two covers to these crossovers are connecting.
Oh, really?
So like the UltraForce Avengers is the top portion and the Avengers UltraForce is the bottom portion.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Kind of forgotten about that till I'm looking at them here now.
All right. Well, that's cool. I never noticed that.
Stay on the lookout for more Black September themed episodes all September long in 2025, right here on the Unspoken Issues podcast.